Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and marinate my chicken. So this is just a chicken, it's about 3.5 pounds. I'm gonna take some sage that I chopped up from my garden, the garlic. I'm gonna put some white wine. Not much.
Not too much, Josh.
Not too much. You don't want to get the bird drunk. You never have too much wine. What are you talking about?
No, I was thinking that's ours. We're drinking that.
Oh, I got you.
It was completely selfish.
Yeah, my glass is right here. It's very important to drink while you cook.
And it is 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yes, and you got to stay hydrated. So that is a lemon, half a lemon, some white wine, garlic, and I'm gonna put some olive oil in. So all I'm gonna do is whisk this up. Take my chicken. Put it all over the bird. I like to actually put it on the inside as well. This is something you could do a day or two in advance. I'm all about getting things done as early as possible. Just keep in mind, if you do it a day or two in advance, you're gonna have a very strong flavor. So you probably could go a little bit lighter on the sage. And that's really about it. And before we cut away here, I just want to remind you, raw chicken, very important to wash your hands with soap and water to prevent cross-contamination. Okay, so I'm going to start by getting the vegetables and ingredients ready for my stuffed chicken. I'm going to do a chicken breast with sage, garlic, some lemon. I'm going to stuff it with a brioche stuffing that will have celery, carrots, and onions. Now I'm going to roast it all with onions and potatoes, celery and carrots, so it's going to be kind of like a one-pot meal. So I'm going to start off by taking my brioche. Now, a trick here would be going to the market and buying day-old bread. It's usually cheaper. They can't sell it as fresh bread from that day, and you want your bread to be a little hard. Now, you can just get fresh bread and toast it in the oven, but if you're going to do that, why not just save a little bit of money and buy it a day or two old? In addition to using brioche, you could use challah, which is a nice egg bread. What really makes the brioche and challah really good for this is their richness.
Roughly how much have you got there, Josh?
This is 8 buns, and I'm just going to put it off to the side here. And then I'm going to take some celery and carrots and go ahead and peel them. And these are local from our CSA farmer, Mike Podris, and he is with 1 Acre Farm in Dickerson, Maryland. He and his team do a wonderful, wonderful job.
I think we're going to catch up with them sometime soon, aren't we, Josh, to have a chat about the CSA?
We are. They are busy harvesting today, and so we are going to have them visit us in the coming weeks. They're going to bring us a selection of items from their farm, and they're going to talk to us about all of the wonderful things they do on their farm. Now, just an FYI, I'm going ahead and cutting these carrots to be diced for my stuffing. And, I like a rough dice, personally. And again, it's going in the stuffing, so it really doesn't matter all that much here. But yes, we're going to have Charlotte, who is the farm manager of 1 Acre Farm. They're going to come spend some time with us. They have a really incredible operation. They are doing composting on their farm in partnership with a company called Compost Crew, and they're utilizing the compost in their gardening. They recently had a couple hoop houses added, so they're able to now operate year-round. Prior to getting the hoop houses in late 2021, they were just a spring, summer, and fall farmers market or CSA, and now they can operate year round. And so they're doing a wonderful winter share. They also have a team member who has experience in growing mushrooms, and the mushrooms are to die for. And on an upcoming episode, I believe that, Shelley, we're going to do a mushroom risotto. Is that correct?
I believe so. And I think we're also going to play around with some shiitake mushrooms and cabbage and do Asian-inspired
Wonderful.
beef dish as well, which will be nice.
And what's really nice is, you know, we're going to be doing this stir fry, and one of the things that we're going to spend some time with is storage of your produce. So the winter share of 1 Acre Farm is every other week. And so I have cabbage from a month and a half ago, and it is beautiful. It is nicer than what you would see in the market. And it really just comes down to, number one, the freshness of the product, and then number two, the proper storage. And so I think we're going to spend some time educating people how to utilize items in the CSA, how to stretch them and make them last. So that was our carrots. I'm now going to do the celery. Again,
You know, I could be chopping at the same time, Josh, if you wanted me to.
you could, if you would like to come over and help. You know,
No, we need another board.
we need another board, and that's you know, if we have to stop to get the board, it's gonna mess up the whole camera thing, and you know, we really don't know what we're doing anyway. So if people knew how much time went into us getting ready for this. We have a higher appreciation for the grips and the cameramen and the crews that support these wonderful productions you see in the movie theater. So whenever you see them thanking the crew, we have a newfound respect. We aspire to have a crew.
How many stalks of celery did you use, Josh?
I'm gonna go with, this is probably 4.
Okay.
I don't think we're gonna need it all.
Okay.
It's just my habit of cooking with a whole bunch of ingredients. These onions I'm about to use are again from my share of my CSA from 1 Acre Farm. And I've had these onions now for probably, look at this gorgeous onion. I've had this for at least a month. Now this is sage out of my garden. I love sage. It's one of my favorite herbs. And what I like about it is that, you know, you're gonna have greens year round. And so this is just fresh sage. I clipped off my bushes there.
Yeah.
And
It looked like it was a big handful.
it was. So one of the things I would really encourage everyone to do is get a little piece of their garden and plant some herbs. You know, staples, sage, rosemary, thyme. Those are herbs that are going to come back year after year. They turn into big, beautiful bushes.
Yeah.
It's nice to harvest them. In the winter. It's nice to give them to friends. It's nice to make infused olive oils, which we'll spend some time with down the road. Are there any other herbs that I'm missing, Shelley?
Only if you wanted to put some parsley in it, but the sage will be lovely.
And I should point out this chicken dish that I'm making really is kind of like your Thanksgiving turkey. You know, I'm actually making this chicken for a friend who has difficulties cooking for themselves. So we were talking about Thanksgiving and how much they enjoy the holiday, and more importantly, the food that they get to enjoy with their family. So I told them I would make them a chicken as if it's a turkey, and it's just 2 people in the house. They're empty nesters.
Okay, sweet.
So
Nice. That was how many cloves? 4 large cloves?
that was 4 large cloves, and you know, I hope everyone saw all I did is take the knife and mashed it down on the top, which cracked the skin, threw that away. Actually, I should say not throwing that away. It's to my right. These are my scraps that I will use later for my stock. So we have our onions, we have our celery, we have our carrots, and we have our sage. What I'm going to do now is saute these up, and then after I saute them, I'm going to mix them with the brioche roll, and then I'll get ready to stuff my chicken.
Awesome.
So we're going to go ahead and cook the vegetables for the stuffing now. So I've got a non-stick pan. I'm putting olive oil in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my carrots first. They're going to take the longest to cook. That's why I'm starting with them. All I'm looking to do here is get them soft or tender. I'm not looking to brown them. If they get a little color, that's not the end of the world. But I'm not looking to get a caramelization on the vegetable. So we're sauteing the vegetables. You can also use a spoon. This is a great opportunity to practice your cooking.
That's very fancy, Josh.
Well, I have my moments. So I'm going to add my celery now. You can also season with a little bit of salt and pepper. You're not going to need too much because we're going to be using Lawry's seasoned salt in the stuffing when we mix it with the chicken stock. So not too much salt.
And that was just pepper you put in there?
I'm sorry?
That was just pepper?
Black pepper. Now I'm going to add my onions. Once the onions are a little translucent, that's kind of what I'm going for. You can see how quickly the celery is cooking down. So again, if you were to start with your celery, if you were to start with your onions, you would then add your carrots. Because the carrots are going to take longer to cook, you're going to overcook your celery and your onions. Now, I'm going to add some garlic on the end because you can never have too much garlic. Because the garlic is so small, again, this is my last item because I don't want that to brown and impact the flavors that I'm going for. And we're pretty much done here. You can see the onions are pretty much translucent. I like to eat as I go. My carrots have a little bit of a bite to it, meaning the texture. They're not completely soft, which is good, because again, they're going to go in the stuffing and cook more. So we're now going to go ahead and add it to our bowl. And in a second, we'll show you how to mix the breadcrumbs, the stock, and the seasonings. Okay, we're gonna get ready to make our stuffing. Again, remember to hydrate. You know,
we can't actually see you on camera, Josh.
it's okay. I'm having a lovely Chardonnay. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. This is our celery, our carrots, our onions, and our garlic that we cooked before. I'm gonna go ahead and add my breadcrumbs. I'm not gonna put them all in right now. I'm gonna add my...
It looks like a lot of bread.
Yeah, you know, that was the equivalent to 8 slider buns.
Okay.
So it wasn't, it's really not a lot. It looks like a lot, and just remember, once I start to add that chicken stock, it's gonna break down. So we go ahead and add our Lawry seasoned salt. I'm freehanding it. If I had to guess it, we are probably half a teaspoon. Again, you can always add more. This is a salty ingredient. I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 egg. This is 1 whisk egg. I'm now gonna go ahead and add some chicken stock, not too much. And I'm going to just kind of slowly mix it up. And you can see, you know, it looked like a lot of bread. You can see once I added that stock, it really kind of absorbs it and gets into the vegetables. And again, Note that I only added half the bread. It's just easier to mix that way. So I'm now going to add the rest of the bread. A little bit more chicken stock. And if I were to have to equate how much I did, it's probably half a cup each time. I don't want this to turn into mush. I don't want to lose the integrity of my dice of the brioche roll. Remember, this is going to go inside the bird, and it is going to baste as it's cooking from the juices of the chicken. So I want to be very, very careful not to over moisten it. Texture here is good.
If you were doing this to put it in a pan rather than the bird,
Okay.
would you do it the same or would you be doing something different?
I would do it the same. In fact, this dish that I'm using to mix in is a bakeable dish. So you could go ahead and take your stuffing, spread it out, go ahead and put a piece of parchment paper on top, a piece of foil, pop it in the oven, it would be fine. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to need to add more stock. I would probably add more stock halfway through cooking it. Now, what I want to do now is I want to taste it to check my seasoning of the Lawry's, but I've got raw eggs in here. I don't want to do that, so here's a trick. We're going to go back to the stove. All I'm going to do is take a little bit of the stuffing, put it in the pan. Again, the reason I'm doing this is I've got raw egg in it, and so I do not want to eat the raw egg. I'm just going to basically cook a little bit in the pan. It'll allow me to taste it, and then I'll see if I need more salt, pepper, or Lawry's seasonings. Okay, so we've cooked our stuffing a little bit. Again, we're just making sure we cook off the egg. Turn it off. Take my spoon, give it a little bit of a taste, if I can get it. For me, it needs a little bit more Lawry's salt, a little bit of pepper, and then it's good to go. Okay, so we've gone ahead and tasted our stuffing in the pan. I want to add a little bit more Lawry's seasoned salt. So I would say I'm probably adding about a teaspoon, if that. Some fresh cracked pepper. I'm going to give it a toss up. I don't really feel the need to cook anymore to taste it. I wish you all could smell this.
It smells awesome.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to stuff our bird. So here's our marinated bird. I'm just going to go ahead and do this in the bowl. I find it easier. Now, you can probably see very quickly, I am not going to have too little of the stuffing. So to what you said earlier, Shelly, this would be great to cook in a small little container. Mm-hmm. And I'll actually show you a little trick that I love. So I've got my bird stuffed.
So you haven't like pummeled it in either, have you, Josh?
Good point. I did not. Okay. You know, I want it to be loose. This is going to expand a bit out of the bird, and that's the best part. Mm-hmm. That's what the cook gets. The cook gets that outer crust. But I'm not packing it in there because you're really not going to get much more in there anyway. So we're going to go ahead now and move our stuffing that's extra out. Slide our turkey, see, I feel like it's Thanksgiving. Our chicken over. Cookie sheet. I did wrapping with foil. The only reason I wrapped it with foil is it makes it easier for me to clean. It's self-serving. There's no reason that you have to do this, but I don't want to have to clean up a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and take my chicken, put it on my pan. Make sure, you know, the stuffing's going to come out a little bit. I'm going to take my garlic and sage, and I'm going to pour that right on top. I don't want to waste that. Then I'm going to go ahead. This is onions, celery, and carrots.
How many onions was that, Josh?
This is one onion.
It was a big one, wasn't it?
It was a big onion. And then this is probably, I would say, 4 stalks of celery. and a couple carrots. Now, I, again, love vegetables. I am gonna eat these vegetables. But what I also really like is I'm gonna get a bit of a gravy, okay? And so I'm now gonna add a little bit of chicken stock to the pan. That moisture is really more for the vegetables, has nothing to do with the chicken. This is gonna kind of keep it a little moist so that they don't caramelize too much. We're gonna go ahead and put this into an oven. I am going into a convection oven at 375 degrees. That's been preheated for 15 minutes. And the bird should take, you know, less than an hour and a half. So we're gonna go ahead and put our bird in the oven. Again, this is stuffed with a brioche roll. And we're gonna go ahead and leave it at just under 400 degrees, and we'll check it back in, I would say, 30 minutes. Okay, so lastly, we're gonna take our extra stuffing, and a nice little treat is to put them in a cupcake pan, and you get a nice crisp outer shell. So I'm just putting my fingers with a little bit of olive oil. And take a spoon. Again, similar to the bird, I am not packing this in here. This is going to go ahead and bake up, kind of like a popover, and they're going to be delicious. This is, again, something, if you wanted to, and you were planning a dinner for some friends, there is no reason why you can't make this stuffing and bake it, and instead of in a bird, in these little tins, and it would be just a nice treat for you and your guests at dinner.
Can you just pop those in the same oven, Josh?
I'm gonna pop them in the same oven. They're gonna take obviously a lot less time to cook. So you could actually, if you wanted to, not bake them right away and put them in later. For me, I just like to get it out of the way in the oven, and I'll go ahead and take them and take them out and put them on a platter that I could either microwave. So we're gonna go ahead and just pop these in the oven. And we'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take our chicken. We're trying to get it to an internal temperature of 165. We're about 145, 150. We got some nice color. I actually wanna turn the temperature up to get a nice golden brown, but it's gonna overcook the chicken. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some foil and cover the bird. I'm going to crunch this up and get the oven temperature out. And what it's going to do is it's going to help it cook a little bit quicker without burning the top of my chicken. And I'm going to turn my temperature up to 400 now, and we'll come back in about 10-15 minutes. At that point, the temperature should read about 165. We'll go ahead and pull the foil off, brown it, and we're done. Okay, so the chicken just registered at 165. So I pulled the foil off, and we've got some beautiful roasted vegetables. We can see how much the chicken stock reduced. You can see how the stuffing flowed out like a souffle. And we're gonna go ahead and let it rest.
So here's Josh's roasted chicken, and you can see the extra stuffing. What do you call it? Stuffing?
Red stuffing.
The extra stuffing is behind the chicken, and we're going to let that rest for at least
15 minutes. 15 minutes, and at that point you could carve it and serve it. It'd be delicious the way it is. The broth that I put in the pan has really reduced down. I really see no need to make a gravy where you would add flour or any thickening agent. I think it would be delicious just as it is.
And the vegetables, like potatoes, are crispy, they look beautiful. Carrots look like they're soft and beautiful. And as Josh mentioned before, the stuffing, which is coming out of the chicken and it's a little darker, will be absolutely beautiful. So that's a beautiful meal. Josh, well done.
Thank you.